Venom is directed by Ruben Fleischer. It stars Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and Jenny Slate. Venom tells the story of Eddie Brock, who is a journalist, and he tries to uncover something shady. This organization is doing something they're not really supposed to be doing. But long story short, when Eddie Brock tries to find out what's going on, pretty much his life goes in the shitter. You know, he loses his fiance, he loses his job, he loses his apartment. He pretty much becomes a nobody. Something happens in an organization where they are trying to create this new life form, and this new life form escapes, attaches onto Eddie Brock's character, and he is now Venom. And along the journey, chaos ensues. So Venom is, of course, a Marvel villain from the famous Spider-Man, and Sony wanted to do a movie based on this character. Now, this sounds like a movie I would be really excited for, but the truth was that this movie was my second least anticipated film of the fall. I mean, this movie looked terrible. I love Tom Hardy. I love the character of Venom, but the trailers did not look good at all. And Sony is known for pretty much messing up all their movies by trying to interfere with their films and trying to, make a universe instead of, focusing on making a good movie. But like all movies, I always try to go in with a bit of optimism to make sure that, I don't go in biased and, to make sure that I go in with the expectation that this movie could be good, because any movie could surprise me. And I was hoping this would be the case with Venom. Long story short, I'm just going to keep this short and simple. Venom, admittedly, it's not the total disaster I thought it was going to be. Is this one of the worst movies ever made? No. I've seen movies that are considerably worse than Venom. With that being said, this is not a good movie at all. Let me start off with some of the positives. I will say that the Venom character himself is actually pretty cool. And the interactions that the Venom character has with Eddie Brock is the best part of the movie. There are some scenes where they have their bantering and Tom Hardy looks like he's talking to himself. And there are some pretty funny scenes involving that. One line of dialogue in particular, which I'm not going to spoil, but it was pretty funny to watch. Like, I actually got a pretty good laugh out of that. And I will say, I didn't completely hate watching this movie. The pacing wasn't very good, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this movie is unbearable. Again, there's other superhero movies that are worse, like Catwoman and Batman and Robin. And that's pretty much for my positive end. Venom is pretty terrible. Here's a problem with this movie. This movie feels like a half-assed cash grab that Sony just wanted to make so they could retain the rights, and a movie that doesn't even attempt to tell a compelling story, give you compelling characters, and has an A-list cast. I already read you what the cast was like. You have Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and none of them give a great performance. Now, I don't blame the acting in particular. I blame the way the characters were written. I think they tried the best they were given with, but the truth is the characters were so uninteresting. They were generic, and I just didn't care about any of them. Tom Hardy is an actor who has been in some movies this past decade that has been some of my favorites. I really feel like he brings a lot to his role. But with Venom, he just didn't. He tried his best, but honestly, his performance wasn't anything that special. Like I said, his interactions with Venom were entertaining, to say the least, but that's really all he has to offer in terms of that performance. Michelle Williams, who's an Oscar-winning actress, she's won an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea. And I will say about her that she's really good, because even in some of the other movies she's in, she's not in it for very long, but when she's in certain scenes in those other movies, she delivers a powerful performance. Like, despite the fact that she's only in it for a little bit, she makes an impact when she's in the scene. In this movie, she's just thrown it in, honestly. The romance is so rushed, and it's not even interesting at all. The villain is so generic. The character is written terribly. He has this cliched plan, and then something happens later on in the end, which I don't want to spoil, but this movie has some of the worst CGI I have seen this year. I mean, I'm sorry. I gave shit to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and I owe that an apology, because Venom is the one that takes the case for the worst CGI of the year. There is, especially towards the end, this big final fight, and it just looks like a PlayStation 2 video game, which is fine if you're playing PlayStation 2, but not if you're watching a movie in 2018. And another thing, too, is that the movie moves at I mentioned before that I didn't hate watching it, but the pacing is not very good, because it's all over the place, this movie, basically. Like, it doesn't know whether it wants to be a fun 90s movie or a serious movie. Like, I don't mind whichever one it goes, as long as it sticks to its tone. but it seemed like it had a problem with sticking with one tone, and it kind of lost me because of that. I think that the movie could have been considerably better if it had a better director, a better writer. I mean, I've discovered that this movie has like 6 writers, and some of the movies they've written is like 50 Shades of Grey and A Darkest Tower. I'm like, wow, that explains a lot because the lines of dialogue in this movie is absolutely atrocious. Venom is a film that could have been better. I think it has potential to be great because who doesn't love Venom? Who doesn't love Tom Hardy? And the director has made Zombieland, which is funny, and he also made Gangster Squad, which I was not a fan of at all. And his directing here is not very good. Overall, Venom is terrible. I was not a fan of it. I will say that that there is some kind of hope, I guess, if they make a sequel. I don't want a sequel, but if they make a second one, I guess hire someone better, and better director, better writer, and perhaps you can have a great Venom movie. So if they do make a sequel, like I don't want one, but if they do make one, I'll try to be optimistic about it. And I know there are people who really like this movie and who enjoyed it. And if you're one of those people, that's great for you. You know, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It just didn't work for me. So I'm gonna give Venom a 3 out of 10. This film was terrible. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. I don't recommend it. So yeah, that is my review of Venom. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do apologize if this review did seem a little bit jumbled because this is my first review after a while. I will be reviewing A Star is Born very soon, so stay tuned for that. All right, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.